The Vorkith warrior priest Zexthalan had witnessed death across 1,000 battlefields, but never had he seen a species bleed the way humans did. The defense of Outpost Meridian should have lasted mere hours. The Krell swarm had descended upon the remote station with overwhelming force. 300,000 chittering nightmares against a garrison of 200 human soldiers. Zexthalan had been sent as an observer, a neutral party documenting what the Galactic Council assumed would be a massacre, a cautionary tale about humanity's reckless expansion into contested space. He had expected to record their extinction. Instead, he witnessed their apotheosis. The first human he saw die was a young soldier named Chen. A Krell blade limb had punctured through her chest plate, erupting from her back in a spray of crimson. Zexthalan, whose own species' blood coagulated instantly upon exposure to air, watched in horrified fascination as the red fluid poured freely, steaming in the cold station air. Chen looked down at the wound, then up at the towering Krell warrior, and smiled. "My turn," she whispered, and detonated the plasma charge she'd been clutching. The explosion vaporized both combatants and 12 nearby Krell. Zexthalan's recording equipment captured every frame, every pixel of that crimson mist that had once been a living being who chose obliteration over surrender. That was when he began to understand. Humans didn't just bleed, they bled purposefully. Their blood carried oxygen in a way that made them simultaneously fragile and ferocious. One severed artery and they had mere minutes. But those minutes contained infinities. Commander Sarah Okonkwo stood atop the command center's rampart, her left arm hanging useless, blood streaming down her tactical armor in rivulets that formed small pools at her feet. She'd been fighting for 6 hours straight. Any other species would have retreated into shock, their bodies' survival mechanisms shutting down non-essential functions. But Okonkwo's eyes remained sharp, her right hand steady as she coordinated defensive positions through her neural link. "Fall back to Section 7, she commanded, her voice unwavering despite the pallor of her skin. "Seal bulkheads 12 through 19. Make them pay for every corridor." Zexthalan approached her, his translator implant struggling with his urgency. "Commander, you require medical attention. Your blood loss is catastrophic." She glanced at him, then back at the tactical display. "I'll bleed when I'm done. It was illogical." It defied every survival instinct catalogued by xenobiological science. Yet there she stood, hemorrhaging her life essence while orchestrating a defense that impossibly was working. The Krell had expected panic. They'd evolved to recognize the scent of prey fear, the desperate scrambling of species confronted with inevitable doom. But human blood carried no such signal. If anything, its scent seemed to enrage them further, to make them more dangerous, more cunning. Private Marcus Webb had taken shrapnel to his abdomen, his intestines visible through the torn flesh. He'd fashioned a crude bandage from his uniform and continued fighting, using his own body to shield a choke point. When a Krell commander attempted to push through, Webb wrapped his arms around the creature and activated the emergency airlock. Zexthalan watched through security feeds as both figures were sucked into space, Webb's blood crystallizing into ruby ice in the void, his face frozen in what might have been a grin. The Vorkith priest began to catalog what he was witnessing. In his culture, blood was sacred to be preserved at all costs. His people could regenerate from near-fatal wounds, could seal themselves in protective cocoons until healing was complete. They had never understood why humans, with their primitive circulatory systems and fragile vessels, had become such formidable opponents. Now he knew. Humans didn't fear bleeding because they'd made peace with it. Every human knew they were temporary, that their blood would one day stop flowing, their hearts cease beating. This knowledge didn't paralyze them, it liberated them. Lieutenant James Adeyemi bled out in Zexthalan's arms after dragging 2 wounded comrades to safety. His last words, whispered through blood-frothed lips, were not prayers or regrets, but coordinates for an enemy weapons cache. "Tell Sarah," he gasped. "Section 42. Demo charges, 3 minutes." The subsequent explosion eliminated an entire Krell battalion. The battle raged for 3 days. Zexthalan documented it all. Every sacrifice, every impossible stand, every soldier who kept fighting while their blood painted the walls of their last fortress. He recorded how humans cauterized their own wounds with plasma torches, how they gave their ration packs to the wounded despite their own injuries, how they sang as they died. On the final day, when reinforcements finally arrived, Only 47 humans remained alive. The station's corridors were painted in shades of rust and crimson, a monument to human stubbornness rendered in their own vital fluids. The Krell had retreated, leaving behind 70,000 dead, a casualty ratio that would baffle military analysts for decades. Commander Okonkwo collapsed the moment victory was confirmed, having finally given herself permission to acknowledge the 3 liters of blood she'd lost. As medics worked frantically to save her, she looked at Zexthalan with eyes already glazing. "Did you get it all?" she asked. "The recording?" He nodded, unable to speak. "Good," she smiled weakly. "Let them see. Let them all see what happens when you make us bleed." She survived. Most did not. But their deaths had meaning, had purpose. And Zexthalan finally understood why even death itself showed humans respect. Because humans had learned something most species never would. That fragility was not weakness. That bleeding was not defeat. That mortality, accepted and embraced, became the most powerful weapon in existence. The Vorkith warrior priest submitted his report to the Galactic Council. It contained 3 words of strategic recommendation: do not engage. And 1 addendum, added from personal conviction: they bleed not because they are weak, but because they are mortal. And they have made mortality magnificent.